Hello everyone. Today I am going to discuss about the antihypertensive agents lecture 4 from a series of lecture for antihypertensive agents. Today I am going to discuss about fourth lecture of antihypertensive agents. In previous lectures we have discussed about introduction to hypertension and antihypertensive agents, then classification of antihypertensive agents, and first class from its classification, that is drugs acting on sympathetic system. As we know that antihypertensive agents is classified into four main categories. First one is drugs acting on sympathetic system, second one is vasodilators, third one is drugs acting on renin-angiotensin system, and fourth one is diuretics, right? So out of four, drugs acting on sympathetic system have been discussed. Now in today's lecture, vasodilators going to be discussed. In vasodilators, again main two class, direct vasodilators and calcium channel blockers. Right? So here direct vasodilators will be discussed. So first of all, what is vasodilators? These are the antihypertensive agents which cause vasodilation through relaxation of muscular smooth muscles. Right? These agents cause the relaxation of vascular smooth muscles and that will lead to the vasodilation. Right? These drugs cause the dilatation of arterial vessels. Right? There are two types of vessels, blood vessels, arteries and veins. Right? So these agents cause dilatation of arterial vessels that will lead to the reduction in systemic vascular resistance, which leads to fall in arterial blood pressure. Right? So when these agents cause dilatation of arterial vessels, then decrease in arterial blood pressure. Right? These agents cause dilatation of venous vessels also. Right? And that will lead to decrease in venous blood pressure. Right? Here they do not affect the force of contraction and heart rate. As we know that cardiovascular system has main two parts, heart and vasculatures. Right? Heart itself, that is also known as the myocardium, and vasculature. Vasculature, that is a system of blood vessels. Right? So vasodilators only affect the vasculatures, only affect the blood vessels. They do not affect the myocardium or heart. Right? It have no effect on the heart. That's why they do not affect the force of contraction, right, which is related to heart, and heart rate, right, which is also related to heart. Right? So these agents only responsible for the vasodilatation. Right? In short, for these agents, vasodilation is mainly responsible for antihypertensive activity. Right? These agents produces antihypertensive effect through vasodilatation. Now, there are different mechanism for the vascular smooth muscle relaxation available. Right? Here, mechanisms given which are responsible for the vasodilation. Right? First one is inhibition of alpha-1 adrenoreceptor or inhibit IP3 induced release of calcium ion. Second one is potassium channel opening. Third one is calcium channel blocking. Next one is release or formation of nitric oxide. These four main mechanisms which are responsible for the relaxation of vascular smooth muscles, and that will lead to the dilation or dilatation of the vascular smooth muscle, vasodilation. Right? Let's see the one by one mechanism deeply. First one is inhibition of alpha-1 adrenoreceptor, that will lead to inhibition of IP3 induced release of calcium ion. Right? When alpha-1 adrenoreceptors are present in the vascular smooth muscles, as we know that, right? Vascular smooth muscles are reached with the alpha-1 adrenoreceptors. Right? Now normally activation of this alpha-1 adrenoreceptor cause the activation of the IP3 induced release of calcium ion from smooth muscles, sarcoplasmic reticulum. Right? And that will lead to the contraction of vascular smooth muscle. So ultimately, activation of alpha-1 adrenoreceptor increases the intracellular concentration of the calcium ion, and as intracellular concentration of calcium ion increases, it will lead to the contraction of the smooth muscles. Right? Now, these agents cause the inhibition of the alpha-1 adrenoreceptors. Right? Many vasodilators act through inhibition of the alpha-1 adrenoreceptors, act as alpha-1 adrenoreceptor blockers. Right? That's why it inhibits the IP3 induced release of calcium ion. Right? Decreases the concentration of calcium ion within the cell. Right? Intracellular concentration of the calcium ion will decreases, that will lead to the no contraction. Right? That means relaxation of vascular smooth muscles, and that will lead to the vasodilatation. Right? Keep in mind that increased concentration of the calcium ion inside the cell lead to the contraction. Right? So normally activation of adrenoreceptor cause the IP3 induced release of calcium ion from the sarcoplasmic reticulum. Right? That's why intracellular concentration of the calcium ion will increase, and that will lead to the contraction. Right? Vasodilators block this pathway and cause the relaxation of vascular smooth muscles and cause the vasodilatation. Next mechanism is potassium channel opening. Right? This drug causes the opening of the potassium channels. Right? Generally, opening of the potassium channel lead to the increased efflux of potassium ion from the cell. Efflux, that means movement from inside to outside of the cell. Right? Intracellular to extracellular movement of the ion is known as the efflux. So when potassium channel get opened, then increase of efflux of potassium ion from the cell to the extracellular site will increase. Right? That will cause the hyperpolarization of smooth muscles. Right? When potassium ion channel opens, increases the efflux of potassium ion from inside to outside the cell, and that will lead to the hyperpolarization of the smooth muscles. Now, this hyperpolarization of the membrane, smooth muscles or membrane of the muscles, right? Hyperpolarization of the membrane cause the closing of voltage sensitive calcium channels. Right? Voltage sensitive, that means they open or close according to the voltage of the membrane. Right? So when membrane becomes hyperpolarized, then it closes the calcium channels. Right? Membrane becomes hyperpolarized, that close the voltage sensitive calcium channels. Right? So what will happen? Calcium channels is closed, then entry of the calcium ion from extracellular to intracellular decreases. Right? When calcium channels open, then there is an influx of the calcium ion opposite to the potassium ion channel, right? When calcium channel opens, then influx of the calcium ions occur. That means movement of calcium ion from extracellular to intracellular, right? So here what happened, hyperpolarized membrane caused the closing of the voltage sensitive calcium channels. That's why that will lead to the entry of the calcium ion from extracellular to intracellular is inhibited, right? That's why that will lead to the decrease in concentration of the calcium ion intracellularly, and that will lead to the less activation and phosphorylation of MLCK. Now what is MLCK? That is myosin light chain kinase, right? Myosin light chain kinase, that is an enzyme which is responsible for the activation of the myosin protein, and myosin protein is responsible for the muscle contraction, right? As you know that how muscle contraction happens through activation of the myosin. When myosin is get phosphorylated by this enzyme, then it binds with the actin and cause the muscle contraction. Here, to act or for its working purpose, MLCK myosin light chain kinase enzyme have to be activated, right? How they activated? It is activated by phosphorylation. MLCK is converted into MLCKP, that is phosphate, by phosphorylation process, right? So phosphorylated MLCK get activated and cause the phosphorylation of the protein myosin, and that is converted into active form. Then activated myosin bind with the actin protein and cause the muscle contraction. But here what happened? Due to less calcium intracellular concentration of the calcium, there is a less activation and phosphorylation of enzyme MLCK, right? As MLCK does not get activated through phosphorylation, then that will not activate the myosin, and that's why myosin cannot bind with the actin, and that will no contraction. That means it will lead to the relaxation of vascular smooth muscles and vasodilatation, right? Now keep in mind that calcium ions enter inside the cell through calcium ion channel, right? As calcium ion concentration increases inside the cell, it will also sensitize the sarcoplasmic reticulum inside the cell, right? Sarcoplasmic reticulum store the calcium ion, right? So intracellular calcium ion which is come from the outside the cell, that sensitize the sarcoplasmic reticulum to release the calcium ion from its storage, and ultimately increases the intracellular concentration of the calcium ion, right? Now this increased concentration of calcium ion is involved in the activation of enzyme MLCK, right? Myosin light chain kinase enzyme. And when this enzyme get phosphorylated, converted into activated form, it causes the activation of myosin through its phosphorylation, of myosin, right? Now activated myosin bind with actin and cause the muscle contraction. This is a series of events which is related to the calcium ion concentration, then activation of MLCK, activation of myosin, and finally contraction, right? So here opening of the potassium ion channel ultimately affect the concentration of the calcium ion inside the cells, right? They close the voltage sensitive calcium ion channels and cause the less activation and phosphorylation of the MLCK, which leads to the relaxation of vascular smooth muscles and vasodilatation. Next mechanism which is responsible for the vasodilation is calcium channel blocking. Right? As we know that blockage of the calcium ion channel block the movement of calcium ion across membrane of myocardial and vascular smooth muscles. Right? Calcium ion channel get blocked. There is no movement of the calcium ion from extracellular to intracellular environment. Right? So it will lead to the decrease in concentration of calcium ion intracellularly. Right? Again, decreased concentration of the calcium ion intracellularly lead to the no or less activation and phosphorylation of the MLCK enzyme, and that will lead to the relaxation of vascular smooth muscles and vasodilatation. Right? Because as we know that less activation of the MLCK lead to the less activation of the myosin, and that will lead to the no binding with the actin protein. Right? So when myosin and actin cannot be bind with each other, then muscle contraction will not occur. Ultimately, that will lead to the relaxation of the vascular smooth muscles and cause vasodilatation. Then release and formation of nitric oxide, NO. Right? Now, some agents either stimulate or release the cause the release of the nitric oxide, right? Or itself decomposed into NO. Right? Either stimulate the release of nitric oxide from other sites, or itself decomposed into the nitric oxide. Now, this generated nitric oxide bind with the protein receptor, right, which is present on cell membrane, right, or trigger the formation of cGMP from guanylyl cyclase, right, trigger the formation of cyclic GMP from guanylyl cyclase. This guanylyl cyclase, that is enzyme which is responsible for the conversion of GTP to the cyclic GMP. Right? Guanylyl cyclase is enzyme which is responsible for conversion of GTP to the cGMP. Right? So this nitric oxide trigger the action of guanylyl cyclase and increases the formation of cyclic GMP. This elevated cGMP inhibit activation and phosphorylation of MLCK to the MLCKP. Right? This elevated cyclic GMP inhibit activation and phosphorylation of MLCK to MLCKP. MLCKP, that is the phosphorylated myosin light chain kinase. Myosin light chain kinase phosphate. Right? So there is no formation of the myosin light chain kinase phosphate, then there is no activation of the myosin, and there is no binding of myosin with actin, and that's why no muscle contraction. So ultimately lead to the relaxation of vascular smooth muscles, and it will lead to the vasodilatation. Right? So keep in mind this step. Conversion of MLCK to the phosphorylated MLCK is affected by the cyclic GMP. Right? Increased concentration of the cyclic GMP inhibit the conversion of myosin light chain kinase to myosin light chain kinase phosphate. Right? This step is inhibited. That's why contraction of the smooth muscle get inhibited. So ultimately cause the relaxation of vascular smooth muscles and vasodilatation. Now just revise the subclasses of the vasodilator class. Vasodilators can be classified into main two class, direct vasodilators, and second one is calcium channel blockers. Direct vasodilators again classified into three main classes. First one is arterial dilators, second one is balanced vasodilators, and third one is arterial and venous dilators. Calcium channel blockers can be classified into different classes. First one is dihydropyridine. According to its chemical structure, calcium channel blockers are classified. Dihydropyridine derivative, diphenyl alkylamine derivatives, benzodiazepines derivative, and diaminopropanol derivatives. Now start with the direct vasodilators. It includes first class arterial dilators. These drugs cause the direct relaxation or dilation of arterial smooth muscles, right, and thereby decrease the peripheral vascular resistance and arterial blood pressure. As we know that arterial dilators, that means is cause the dilation of the arteries, name indicate, right, cause the dilation of the arterial smooth muscles. That's why decreases the peripheral resistance into the arteries, and that's why decrease blood pressure into arteries, that is arterial blood pressure, right. These drugs often cause the salt and water retention, right. Major drawback of these drugs is retention of the salt and water, right. So this is because of the expansion of the extracellular fluid and plasma volume, right. Salt and water retention thus cause the expansion of the extracellular fluid and plasma volume, right. So these drugs should be used with diuretics and beta blockers, right. These arterial dilators is not used alone, but it should be used in diuretics and beta blockers. Example of this class is hydralazine. Hydralazine is one of the important drugs belongs to this category. These act by dilation of arterioles, by which there is fall in blood pressure without interfering with the functioning of sympathetic nervous system, right. These drugs does not affect the sympathetic nervous system, right. Hydralazine does not affect the function of the sympathetic nervous system, right. It causes the direct vasodilation of the arteries. Mechanism of action of hydralazine. It acts by using different mechanism. First one is opening of potassium ion channel, right. As we know that opening of the potassium ion channel cause hyperpolarization of the membrane, right, through increasing efflux of the potassium ion, not influx, efflux of the potassium ion, right. That prolonging the opening of potassium channel and cause the sustaining greater vasodilation, right. These drugs opens the potassium ion channel, that will lead to the efflux of the potassium ion, that will cause the membrane hyperpolarization, right. And membrane hyperpolarization close the voltage sensitive calcium ion channel, that will lead to the decreased intracellular concentration of the calcium ion, that will lead to the inhibition of the activation or phosphorylation of MLCK to the MLCK phosphate, right. This conversion is inhibited, that's why inhibition of the activation of the myosin protein and its binding to the actin, that's why there is no muscle contraction, that will lead to the vasodilation. Second mechanism, it may also inhibit IP3 induced release of calcium ion from sarcoplasmic reticulum in smooth muscles, and that lead to the relaxation. This mechanism is already discussed. It is also stimulate formation of nitric oxide by the vascular endothelium, right. So Formation of the NO, nitric oxide, affect or first bind with the protein receptor and trigger the formation of the cyclic GMP. Elevated concentration of the cyclic GMP inhibit the phosphorylation of the MLCK. That's why thereby inhibition of the activation of myosin and its binding to the actin, and that's why inhibition of the muscle contraction. So it will lead to the vasodilation. So hydrolysis act by different three mechanism: opening of the potassium ion channel, inhibition of the IP3 induced release of calcium ion, and stimulate the formation of the nitric oxide into the vascular endothelium. Next one is balanced vasodilators. Balanced vasodilators, example is minoxidil, right? And it is potassium channel opener, right? Generally it is also known as the potassium channel opener. Minoxidil is also known as potassium channel opener. It is the N-oxide of piperidinopyrimidine hypotensive agent, right? Chemically, this minoxidil is N-oxide of piperidinopyrimidine hypotensive agent, that is antihypertensive agent, right? This minoxidil is not an active drug until it is metabolized by hepatic sulfotransferase to minoxidil NO sulfate, right? So minoxidil acts as prodrug. It is metabolized to its active form, that is minoxidil NO sulfate, and then it produces its antihypertensive effect. Mechanism of action of minoxidil: it activates ATP sensitive potassium ion channel in the vascular smooth muscles. That's why it will lead to the dilation of the arteries, right? As we know that potassium ion channel opening cause the closing of the voltage sensitive calcium ion channel because of the membrane hyperpolarization, right? And ultimately lead to the inhibition of the muscle contraction, right? That will lead to the vasodilation. These drugs cause more arterial dilation as compared to veins, right? Especially these balanced vasodilators or minoxidil cause more arterial dilation as compared to veins, right? Since they have ability to dilate both larger and smaller arteries and veins, they are known as balanced vasodilators, right? Why its name balanced vasodilator? Because it have the ability to dilate both larger and small arteries and veins, right? That's why they are known as balanced vasodilators. They cause vasodilation in balanced form between larger and small arteries and veins. Therapeutic uses: it is used in the management of severe hypertension. It is reserved for those patients which do not respond to other therapy. It is known as the step 3 drug, right? It is reserved for those patients which do not respond to the other therapy. Minoxidil is also used topically to stimulate regrowth of hair in patients with androgenic alopecia. That means loss of hair. Alopecia, that means loss of hair, right? And androgenic alopecia, that means male pattern alopecia, right? So to stimulate the regrowth of hair, minoxidil is used topically, right? It is important use of the minoxidil other than the antihypertensive effect. Third one is arterial and venous dilators. This cause dilation of both arteries and veins. As name indicate, arterial and venous dilators, they cause dilation of both arteries and veins. It is beneficial to cause reduction of pre and after load, preload and afterload. That means pressure of blood before entering into the heart and pressure on heart after leaving the heart, right? So it is used for short term only because it causes the rapid reduction in the blood pressure. So it is used in hypertensive emergencies, right? It has the short duration of action and that's why it is used for short term only, and it causes the rapid reduction in the blood pressure, that's why used in emergency condition. Example is sodium nitroprusside. It is also known as the nitrodilators, right? These arterials and venous dilators or sodium nitroprusside is also known as the nitrodilators because it acts through the formation of the NO, nitric oxide, right? NO, a molecule, nitric oxide is a molecule produced by many cells in the body and has several important functions. It is synthesized within cell by enzyme nitric oxide synthase, right? And this enzyme nitric oxide synthase has the three sub-enzymes. First one is neural NO synthase, that is known as NOS1, and it is generally found in nerves. Second one is inducible NO synthase, NOS2, and which is found in macrophages. Third one is endothelial NO synthase, which is denoted as NOS3 and is found in endothelial cells. So see the general path of action of the NO, how they cause the vasodilation. External stimuli at endothelial cell release the nitric oxide, right? That is by any of external region there is a release of the nitric oxide. Now that diffuse into the underlying smooth muscle. This nitric oxide diffuses into the underlying smooth muscles and then it binds with the protein receptor in the cell. It will lead to the triggering the formation of cGMP from guanyl cyclase. Then it will lead to the inhibition of the phosphorylation of MLCK to MLCKP. Right? That is the activation of the MLCK. This step is inhibited by due to the elevated concentration of the cGMP. Right? Guanyl cyclase is triggered by the NO, nitric oxide, and this enzyme guanyl cyclase is responsible for the conversion of GTP to the cGMP, cyclic GMP. Right? So increases the concentration of the cyclic GMP, and elevated concentration of cyclic GMP inhibit activation of MLCK to MLCKP. And due to lack of MLCKP, myosin does not get phosphorylated to myosin P, which does not coupled with the actin. Only phosphorylated myosin, that is myosin P, can couple with the actin, can bind with the actin protein. Right? So there is a no myosin P, that's why that does not couple with the actin, and that's why lead to the inhibition of the contraction and lead to the relaxation of the vascular smooth muscles, and that's why vasodilation occur. So nitrodilators act through this way. Now see how this sodium nitroprusside produces the vasodilation by formation of nitric oxide, right? Sodium nitroprusside coupled with the glutathione conjugation and form the nitrosothiol, right? And from nitrosothiol there is a formation of the nitric oxide. Now this generated nitric oxide causes the vasodilatation as we discussed, right? Next, vasodilators, that is calcium ion channel blockers, we will discuss in next lecture. Thank you.